Hey, what's up everyone? Kako. It is me, Pink Crochet 808, and I normally don't come on these days, right? I don't normally come on Tuesday or any of the weekdays, maybe Wednesday, Thursday, a couple times, but I rarely do I ever come on like on a Tuesday. But I decided to come on because I remember I was gonna share with you all about what is that called? I was going to share with you the NPO that I work with, and it's called HTPH Therapeutic Support Services. So HTPH Therapeutic Support Services focuses mainly on prevention, sexual crimes, and like prevention of sexual crimes. We also provide advocacy, and I guess you can say somewhat, it's more like victim advocacy, although we're unable to provide a lot of that because, you know, funding is always an issue. But we provide what we can. And some of our services are sexual crime victim advocacy, education and resources, policy, and we try to work with our legislation, but I'm pretty sure a lot of other people, we are facing the same issue that a lot of other people are facing, and it is people don't want to deal with, you know, these sexual crimes. Like, they would rather sweep it under the rug because, as we all know and all seen, that it is associated with people who have a lot of money or a lot of influence. And some leaders are too afraid to address it, you know, and it's a sad scenario, it's a sad case, but that's the reality of it. And the only people that can make that move is other people who have influence and other people who have money and power, that type of power, or the community itself. So the voice of the community in that case has to be louder. Hey, when it comes to sexual crimes, anything that is associated with sexual crimes, it's fucking scary. It is scary, I'm not gonna lie. It's scary because when you think about the things that happen to these people who were victims, you're not dealing with just crazy. You're dealing with sick crazy. You know, when in the Bible, when it comes to crimes associated with lust, God would rather abolish them. That's all that it is. That's one crime. That's one sin God hates, is sexual perversions and sexual crimes. Because not only are they sinning against other people, but they're sinning against their own body too. And they defile the temple in which the Spirit dwells. You know, and then when you think about who breathed the life into them and the audacity of them to abuse God's breath of life and create something, a temple so foul, I think it's understandable that God would want to annihilate them, because you're abusing God too. You know, when it comes to sexual deviances and sexual crimes and lust and all that kind of stuff, bruh, your body not your own. You're given that. That's a loan from God. So some of these people, they think their body is their own. They think that they can do whatever they want with their body, and they can be the stupidest thing I ever heard somebody tell me. And this is somebody. If that person was watching what I'm about to say, then they're gonna know that's them. The stupidest thing I ever heard somebody tell me was that you are an animal and your animalistic thing, it's your animalistic, it's your deep down your animalistic desires or something like that. Your you see, that's how stupid it is. It's so stupid. I mean, I think my mind is blocking myself from remembering this freaking crap that came out of that person's mouth. And when that person said that, I went, wow, I used to look at you like you were so smart. You used to be so smart in my eyes. Now you're just stupid. Because if you compare yourself to an animal and you go with your animal instincts, and if your animal instincts tells you that you can have sex and sleep with anybody and you can do all kinds of, perversions to yourself, then you're not somebody I want to hang out with, nor are you somebody that I want to know, because you're not smart. You're stupid. Yeah. So. I flipped the freaking hell out. Yes, I know I should present myself a little better, but hey, I got off work, all right? I got out of my scrub. I got out of my uniform, all right? So just leave me be. Just relax. Let me relax and just take in the message, all right? Because it may save a life. Might save your life. So the reason why I brought up the NPO that I work with is because it deals with sexual crimes. And I'm going to share with you some information that you could use, or some information that, you can use to protect yourself, your community. And if you are someone who's starting up an NPO or want to bring awareness, then this is information that you can definitely use. And I would gladly share it with you, So this is signs of a sexual predator. So when I give my workshops, it's called Signs of a Sexual Predator, and it's prevention. The whole objective is preventing people from becoming victims. What are your resources? A lot of people who do fall into that circumstance, they don't know what to do. Why? Because it's rarely talked about. Why? Because people are scared. Why? Because there's shame associated and connected to these types of disasters. I call them disasters, but it's something, because it's a disaster in that person's life. It's like a hurricane swept through their life and changed their whole world, So when it happens to people, they don't know what to do. There's not enough guidance out there. There's not enough people talking about it. You have some who are trying to hit it head first, and things happen along the way. I think one of the most chilling things, but I think that person meant it with their whole, like they really genuinely meant it, and they meant well when they said it, is that while I'm taking that journey, that I hope you be really safe, because I want you to stay alive. Somebody told me that when I started working, when in the beginning of this NPO, I hope you stay really safe because I want you to be alive. And when they said that, at first I was like, oh, that's so nice, and then it hit me. I went, Oh, must be dangerous. Must be a dangerous topic. But you know what? I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to face it. I'm going to move right into it and, head on, brah. Bull. So what triggered it was, I was working as a housing support coordinator for another NPO, and one of the coordinators in whose cases that I took on, I think I took a good majority of their cases, were being sexually harassed or sexually assaulted by this person. And the thing about my job as a housing support coordinator, was I would have to go and inspect their homes. And I got a lot of pushback from these individuals. They tried to, avoid me coming over, until they met me. When I finally connected with them and they met me, then they got really comfortable with me. They trusted me, as they should. And so, maybe I think it was about 3 months in. 3 months in, they began to share what happened because they felt safe. They felt safe with me. And rightfully so. I mean, good call. So when I heard it, I was like, what? Now, I wouldn't have believed if I hadn't experienced something similar with that same person. And that same person, I told this individual, I looked at him and I said, this individual was coming on to me, making all kinds of passes and talking about all kinds of sexual things. And I had to drive with this person in my car because they knew the location. And so when he brought all those things up and he was saying all these sexual things to me, I went, I'm a Christian, an ordained Christian minister. I don't do any of that. I don't even want to do anything of that sort. You need to stop talking about it. You need to stop talking about this because you're not going to get anywhere. And I was like, I was very uncomfortable. And he didn't stop. See, even after I told him, I'm an ordained Christian minister. I don't participate in any of those activities. I don't have even an urge of any of those kind of activities. And so he didn't stop. And then he would walk in front of me when I was at my desk doing my work, and he walked in, like he strutted in front of me like on a daily basis, and he would try to run into me and all kinds of stuff, and it was getting very, very, very uncomfortable. And if he didn't show me his true colors so quickly, then I probably wouldn't have believed him, because he's very charming. Bro is super, super charming. He's super, super nice. He's super charming, tall, stuff that girls would run after, but not me, because like I said, I was an ordained Christian minister. I'm an ordained Christian minister. I don't partake in that. I'm not one of those mega church Christian ministers. I'm one of those, where did she come from out of the blue skies, and where does she know this type of Christian minister? Like, my prayer life is solid. You know what I'm saying? And I reading, I may not read a lot now, but that was my life for 4 solid years. That is my life. I breathe and I live God. And I realized to get to certain positions of prayer, I couldn't even make one mistake. I mean, like, yeah, I swear right now, but during that phase, that period of drawing close to God, nothing blasphemous came out of my mouth. Nothing. Now I don't know, just slipping out. But in order for me to get to that position of prayer where I start receiving things, my life and my walk and my thoughts, especially my thoughts and my heart, has to be a certain place. It has to be aligned in a certain purity. And if you deviate from that and you start having lustful thoughts and you start having, lustful speech, unclean speeches and stuff like that, and you start hanging around with people who do that, then your prayer life's gonna go down the hill. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna, because you're defiling your mind, you're defiling your spirit, your thoughts. When you connect to God, you have to be in a position of purity. I don't care what anybody says. They can say, "Oh, she's wrong." Really, maybe you're wrong. I tried it. It works. Maybe you should try it, like with your whole heart. So, if I hadn't witnessed it for myself, then I wouldn't have believed those women because their background. These women that I was working with, they have a background. They have a past. They have a past, and some of their pasts are it definitely not a past that would make you say, "Oh, I'll believe you at the first jump." You know what I'm saying? No, these women had a past, and so if it was someone else who didn't witness that man's dynamic, social dynamic, then they probably would have looked at those women and said, "You're crazy. He's not like that." If it were a male, maybe a male would have been like, "You're crazy. He's not like that." But because it was me and I'm a female and he was making those passes to me, I believe them. I believe every word, every single one of them said. And it was every single one of the cases. Every case that I had. And these women, their background, the things that they came from, I was so heartbroken because I was like, how can this freaking mother effer do that to them? And then I was like, how can this mother effer do that to me? Like, how could he come up to me like that and be bold enough and talk to me in that manner and think that I would be open to... I was like... And then the thing that blew my mind even more was, aren't you married? This guy's married. He's married. He's married. And when I told him I was an ordained Christian minister, he still kept coming on to me. And I went, I'm confused. Do you not understand what I just said? I don't know what kind of Christian ministers you hang out with. But when somebody says that, that means, they eat, live, and breathe God. I don't know about other people, but that's the ones that I've been around. They live God and they breathe God. I can see people, getting me and maybe a relative mixed up, because I know that I have relatives that do shit like that. But not me. Not me. I think a lot of times people do get me mixed up with my relatives. And wrong female. So when he did that, I was like, oh, I gotta teach you where the boundary is. We're gonna go there. Okay, I'm gonna teach you where my boundary is. So every time he try to hold the door, I'd be like, no, you don't have to do that. Nope, thank you. No, bye. No, I got it. No, don't hold the door open for me. I got it. You could have perceived me as being a feminist, but no, I am protecting my boundaries and letting him know and everybody else know that, hey, your presence is unwanted here. The reason why it's really important that you let people know and you make it obvious, and men too, because you know what, men, you guys are being, believe it or not, there's been a rise in male sexual assault. You have these men who are preying on other men. So the reason why I made it very clear to that person that I don't want him in my space, I don't like him, was because, one, I need eyes, I need witnesses. You need people to see that person make you feel uncomfortable. Make it obvious. Because you know what I also learned? People like that love to lie. They like to make it seem like they're desirable and that you are the one chasing after them. So make it very clear and very known that you don't like them. Don't even give in to the, oh, I'm such a nice person. That I feel so bad for them. Don't feel bad. I tell you, don't feel bad for them. Don't feel bad for them. You stick to that position. You know, stick to that boundary the whole way through. Just make it very obvious that you do not like their presence around you. And let people see it. And people witnessed it. People witnessed it when they came over, or people in the office witnessed me saying no, or witnessed me ignoring him because he would walk in front. The only time I would go over there and have a discussion is if I had to. And that right there, if I had to have a discussion, for me it was really, really hard not to put a smile on, because normally when I talk to people, I have a smile on my face, you know. But it was really hard for me to, you know, keep that face straight. Because when I'm in my work environment, I like to be happy. I like to be happy, and I like to have a happy, like a uplifting type of vibe where I work and when I'm working with people. I mean, it just automatically comes out. But with him, I had to really, it was really hard for me for me to do that when I was interacting. But you know, you can do it. Matter of fact, do it. Make it very, 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 very obvious that you do not like being around that person, but not to a point where it's going to jeopardize your position in wherever you are working, which is really shitty to say, because then it makes you, it kind of forces you to accept that kind of behavior. But draw the line without looking like the bad person. Someone's gonna ask you, what's wrong? Why do you not like that person? And then that's gonna be your open door to explain what happened. Okay, so when these women, when he did that to me, when he came on to me and he kept making me feel uncomfortable, that's when I set my boundary. I was like, bro, I am super, super nice, but I can be a freaking asshole too. So, you know, I set my boundary, and I let him know, and I let everyone else know that I am not that type of person, and you're gonna stay away from me. I do not like when you walk in front of me. I'll look the other way. I will, when he smiles at me, I'll just look at him like that. Okay. You know, I have my ways of showing a person that I do not like them. It's hard for me to hide that part of me, because if I don't like somebody, it's hard for me to pretend that I like them. But then on another note, depending on top of the environment that I'm with, sometimes the smile just comes on, and I'm looking at, and then I realize who I'm looking at, or if I have to talk to them, and I'm like, but it's obvious, you know, that I wasn't receiving towards him. So if you're ever in a situation where someone is making you feel uncomfortable and they're making passes at you, make sure to make it obvious to everyone that you don't like them, that you're not receiving to them, that you don't like them around you. The reason why is because if they ever have the opportunity to be alone with you and something ever happens to you, you have witnesses around you when you tell your truth. You have witnesses when that person tries to say that she liked me. You have witnesses that will say, no, she don't like him. We know she don't like him. We seen her not liking him. You don't want to be without witnesses. But you also don't ever want to be in a position where you're alone and isolated with that person. And that's why I give these workshops, you know, signs of a sexual predator. First off, what is a sexual predator? So I'm going to use some of my notes. Yeah, so a person who has committed a sexually violent offense. So the reason why I'm using this, I'm reading this verbatim, and I'm not just telling you it off the top of my head, which I can. The reason why I'm reading it to you verbatim is because this is the legal term. Okay, per our Attorney General's office, this is the legal term, what I'm reading to you. So the definition of a sexual predator is a person who has committed a sexually violent offense, and especially one who is likely, as because of a mental abnormality or a psychological disorder to commit more sexual offenses. Now, whether they are diagnosed with an abnormality or they have some kind of psychological disorder, as long as they committed a sexually violent offense, then they are a sexual predator. And there are signs. You can tell the signs of a sexual predator. You know, the most obvious one is you get this ooky feeling around them. Oh, something is not sitting well with you. Your spirit can feel it. You know, you get this feeling of, oh man, that person I got a really bad vibe about that person. I got a really bad feeling about that person. You get that bad feeling about that person. Don't pretend, girl. Don't pretend, guy. Just be like, okay. Well, I better be, if I have to be around that person, I need to be sure other people are with me. Don't ever look at a person and say, oh, that's innocent. He looks like a nerd. You'd be surprised how many of them are sexual predators. Oh, that's not for sure, because like he's handsome. A lot of them are. A lot of them are charming. Oh no, she's like, yeah, she's a bit rough around the edges, but she's cool. She's cool. You never know. She might be cool with you when plenty of people are around, but that chick might be drugging you when you are by yourself. You know, you have to be careful. So now you know the definition of a sexual predator. Who can be a sexual predator? Quite frankly, anybody. It can be your family member. It can be your friends, your peers. It can be your neighbor. It could be an authority figure. It could be an authority figure. Anyone who has the tendency to commit a sexual crime. Anyone who breaks the law by committing a sexual violence is a sexual predator. You know, you go online, there is a website that you can use to check if there are any registered sexual offenders near you. For the state of Hawaii, it is HTTPS /registeredsexoffenders.ehawaii.gov, and I'll put that link up on the top of this video. But you can type in their names and see what pops up. Yep, so each state has their own website. So utilize that. You know, when you're at home, when you move to somewhere new, check it out. Pull up the offenders around your home so you know where your danger zones are. You know where your danger zones are. You know, and you know the best part about Hawaii's website is they have the face. They'll post that person's face up. So you know, literally, you see their face and you'll be like, okay, so this is a sexual offender. You can see what sexual offense they did. You're gonna get their address. So you know that's a red zone. Oh, that's a no-no zone right there. Nah, you don't even, you know. But the one thing that I would encourage you guys not to do is to be afraid. Don't show that you're afraid. Matter of fact, don't even show that you know. You know, you can have the RBF, resting bitch face, wherever you go. You may not be a bitch, you know what I'm saying? You may not be a B. But knowing who the predators are around your home. If you're a family, you keep your baby safe. If you're an adult and a female or even a male, like I said, did you know a lot of these sexual offenders, they violate boys? Good amount of them. So males, you're not safe either. You know, you're not safe either. You gotta watch out. They got some sick people out there. But knowing who the red zones and who the sexual offenders are and the predators are could save you, could save your family, could save a life, your friends. Now, what is sexual crime? What is sexual violence? For me, here with HTPH Therapeutic Support Services, we focus on sexual violence. Okay, so I know people are like, oh, sexual assault, or what is that? Sexual, no. They focus on sexual violence. We focus generally on sexual crimes. Okay, so sexual violence. The thing about, I think there was a bill that was created. They drafted a bill, I think a year ago or 2 years ago, and it was, oh no, yeah, last year, and it was focused on sexual crimes, sexual violence, only sexual violence. And the thing about sexual violence is it only covers sexual assault, or sexual, you have to be hurt, you have to be touched. But when you address these crimes as address this type of issue, this type of deviance as sexual crimes, you cover sexual harassment, you cover sexual assault. Before comes the assault, before the assault comes, you have the harassment. What is the harassment? Making catcalls, calling you, maybe even looking at you, staring at you for a long duration of time, looking at you going up and down. Those are all forms of harassment. All those things happen before the sexual assault. Those are the signs when they start doing things like that. And it's like, you catch it early, you nip it in the butt early, boom, you save a life and you save someone's sanity. But if you just focus on sexual violence, then sexual violence means they actually have to get violent with you. They actually have to touch you. And so, although we can give a definition of sexual violence, we would like to focus on sexual crimes, addressing sexual crimes, because before the violence comes harassment. So if you pursue sexual violence in that context, in those words, then you're only covering those who have been assaulted. And that's not what we're about here. We want to prevent it. In order to prevent it, you have to address the sexual harassment that leads into sexual assault. Okay, you want to stop the harassment first. You want to address the harassment. Why? Because it's the prevention. So many times people address the outcome and not the catalyst. I've sit on many boards. I've been in community engagement and community affairs for a very long time. And the one thing that I have noticed, everybody has this ambition to make their mark. Everyone has this ambition to be something great and get recognition. But motherfuckers, you guys are all doing it wrong. Address the fucking catalyst. Address the problem, not the outcome. By the time you have the outcome, you have damaged people. So address the catalyst, the before the outcome. You address the issues that small issues that people overlook. Oh, he just looked at you. They like you. No, all of those stuff, those are the catalysts. Those are the things that will lead to the sexual assault. Address that first. The one thing that I really got an issue with is when somebody sticks up for themselves and they're like, I don't feel comfortable about that. And people tell them, why are you so sensitive? They gaslight these people. And it's like, bro, like for me, when I see stuff like that, I'm like, no, that person has a legit reason to feel that way and they should voice their opinions. Because by paying attention to the small details, you stop big ass problems. For someone who sat on a crime prevention board in one of the most crime infested areas on this island, I know what the hell I'm talking about. So address the whole issue, not just the sexual violence. Address the sexual crimes in itself, which is the harassment and also the violence. And both should not be addressed the same. One should have more severe outcome and a punishment than the other. Now you see a lot of things being passed. People are I posted a video last night where a woman, she was caught with 25 kids under her basement, and she lied. She straight out lied to the police officers that there was no kids there. Auntie only got 6 years in jail. And I went, 25 kids, she lied to the law enforcement. You lied to the law enforcement. You got 25 kids. They're all neglected because it smells like poop under there. And they said that it smells like poop under there. you have kids crying and you get 6 years? Oh no, girl. If it were me, I would take half your life. Half your life you can spend in jail because you decided to use it the wrong way. But I'm going to make sure you're productive, okay? Because you're going to clean and build shit. People, so like, if your tax dollars are going, and people, there's going to be a lot of people that get mad at me, but you know what? I'm telling you something. Sometimes you got to face the monster head first. You know why? Because if you don't, who will? And if you have children, you damn well should. If you have kids, you should. Not help evil get worse, you know? you gotta be brave. So sexual violence, okay, is, like I said, I'm going to read it from my paper because I'm going to give it to you verbatim, because that is the definition, the legal definition on the Attorney General's website. So sexual violence is broadly defined as any forced, tricked, or coerced sexual activity. It can involve both contact and non-contact activities and occurs when the victim does not or is unable to consent to the sexual activity due to age, disability, or incapacitation through the use of drugs or alcohol. Yeah, this is how neglected this crime is. All the fucking different definition. Non-contact activities occur. Okay, so the non-contact activity, okay, that's drugging. Okay, it's not the harassment. Okay, because I remember looking at this and going, what? That's like, all right. Okay, so how to protect yourself? I think, okay, so non-contact would be harassment, but for legal purposes, honestly, personally, I would put harassment. I would use the actual word. I would personally use the word. And I think that was in reference to drugging people. Non-contact activities was actually a reference to, you know, like people sliding roofies in your drink. That's what it was actually in reference when they created that definition, I believe. But like I said, sexual crimes covers harassment. Sexual crimes covers much more than the violence. And I think when they do draft the redefinition of it and use the term sexual crimes, I think it'll open up a better, well, it'll better protect other areas of sexual harassment. Because right now, sexual violence in its context, I know that the non-contact activity was in reference to sliding roofies in people's drinks. But any forced, tricked, or coerced sexual activities. Forced, tricked, or coerced sexual activities. One of the rising incidents are in relationships. And that's why I posted that 3 videos of that one female who now works with the White House, with Congress, to create programs that address that type of human trafficking. She was married to a man who exploited her. And I believe Hawaii right now has an issue with that. Another friend of mine, she created an NPO herself, and that addresses human trafficking in that context. And I think there are several others on Oahu, and that address human trafficking in that context. From what she was telling me, there are a lot of girls who are being victimized by their boyfriends. and the boyfriends are exploiting them. There was an incident where it was actually someone that I knew, their daughter, and I remember the daughter too. The daughter was really nice, super nice, and she was trafficked by her boyfriend, and he would take her, and he would oh gosh, the things that he did. Oh, and I'm telling her parents, ooh, he gonna get it. Bro's gonna get it. I'm pretty sure he already got it. But yeah, so you gotta be careful. Like, love is not love. Today's generation, today's society, they're trying everything, using everything they can to make a buck. You know, that's how bad the economy is, or that's how outrageous the desperation, I guess, could be. You know, that they're actually starting to use love to turn a profit. And it's sad. It's super sad. And you know, I thank God for protecting me from these relationships, from getting to a relationship for a long while. And I think, yeah, man, that's why I say relationships are not for me. Thank you very much. I will serve God for the rest of my life and die single. I'm good. When you hear the horror stories that I've heard, and when you, oh man, it's like, and people are like, oh, you just can't get a date. Bro, are you serious? Are you fucking serious? You like me. It's not that. It's the fact that I would rather focus on God. It has nothing to do, finding out about all of those things after made it even more of a reason not to want to get into a relationship. But having experienced one bad relationship was enough for me. I was like, oh no. I don't like to venture into the same problems twice. I like to learn once. Yeah, I will talk. We can talk. That's it. And you know, yeah, I don't mind being ugly. I don't mind. Yeah, you know, I mean, not with all this stuff going on. But how do you protect yourself, man? How do you really protect yourself? How do you protect yourself from all this crazy? How do you protect yourself from being a victim? Well, one is prevention. You know, be aware of your surroundings. Look around. Pay attention to the people around you. What's the activity? Figure out what's the norm in your environment. Figure out what's the norm in my environment. What is the norm in my environment? You know, is my environment, do I got crazy people around here? What's the dominant ethnicity around me? What's, you know, the dynamics? What is the norm? First, you find out what's the norm. You know, be observant. Don't be stupid and just be like walking without paying attention. You never know what you can be walking into. Females and males, never be alone. Like, if you're like a Bruce Lee Kung Fu master, you do you, okay? You do you. But for those who are normal and typical and just, you know, average, never be alone. Always have a friend. Know where your danger zones are. Know where your safe zones are. You know, don't be alone. You know, at night, definitely not be alone. Even like there was an incident, and I posted this up too, where a young girl went to support a friend, a friend, and it was a male, and they lured her into the stairwell. And when they lured her into the stairwell, those two boys sexually assaulted her. They raped her. And there's nothing, the thing that could have prevented it was, one, she bring her friends with her. She went by herself. She was lured into a stairwell by herself, and they raped her. Stairwells off limits, especially if it's closed. If it's a closed stairwell and it doesn't have cameras, that's why, you know, organizations out there, buildings, place cameras in the stairwell. Place cameras in those stairwells. You know, if you want to prevent yourself from getting a lawsuit, because right now they're suing that location because they didn't have cameras in the stairwells, and that girl got raped by those two boys. They were teenagers. Put cameras in the stairwells. For me, hey, I'm about cohesion, but for me, you doing wrong, you doing wrong. You gotta, the best thing anybody could do for people that they know is let them deal with the consequence if they did something wrong. Right now, there are people, they're trying to cover it up, and it's like, what the fuck? You no more kid. You no more daughter. You no more niece. You no more on mom. You no more. What you were born of a man only. You gotta protect the girls. You gotta protect what is right. You know, like I said, and that's why I keep saying, and that's why it keeps coming to me, I guess. If you choose evil, evil will never leave your house. If you choose evil, evil will never leave your house. Sometimes you're going to have to choose to do what is the right thing against people you know. And like I said, if you're a person who goes around saying, I know God, I love God, but yet you turn around and you do something that, and then you turn around and you cover up something because, oh, that's my friend. If that's evil that you're covering up, you just invited evil in your house. And guess what? Never going to leave until you right the wrong. So it would be wonderful to say, just don't be part of the problem. Sometimes problems come knocking at your door where you have to make one difficult decision, you know. But I say, if you support evil in any capacity and you think evil not going to venture into your home, it will. It's an open door. It is an open door when you allow evil. It's an open door when you support evil. When you do bad to someone who is innocent, you're inviting evil. When you cover something evil because maybe you know that person, I just can cover them up, you're inviting evil into your home. Okay? I'm not going to sit here and persecute anybody who decides to do that, because I know what they're going to have to go through. If you invite evil, evil will never leave your home. You know? And so that's why I guess that message keeps coming to me since like last week. If you invite evil, evil will never leave your home. Prevention is key when it comes to protecting yourself and people that you love against sexual predators. Prevention is being aware of your surroundings. Prevention is never being alone. Don't be alone. Always have a friend with you or have a group of people with you. Know where your danger zones are. And if the danger zones are down the alley and down that alley is a shortcut, know that you're walking into a danger zone. And if you walk into that danger zone alone, know that you have a high potential of getting harmed. So either one, grab a bunch of people to walk down there with a lot of flashlights, or two, don't go down there. Take the longer route. You know, we all got to get better exercise. So stay away from isolated areas. Stay away from isolated areas. You want to be in an area where there is traffic. You want to be in an area where people got eyes on you. Okay, so if like somebody calls you to go behind the building and you know you really like them or you kind of trust them, but it's in the back of the building where nobody ever goes, then don't be stupid and go. Use your head and say, oh, yep, how about you come and meet me over here? Oh, but no, I have to show you this. You can show me it over here. Okay, but you're going to really like this. Hey, temptation. You don't really need to know. If it's really important, they're going to show you it somehow. Trust me, when somebody has something that they really want to show you and it's super important, they're going to show you it. They're going to find a way to show you it. You don't have to go into an isolated area just to see it, or it's going to eventually be founded. You're going to find out. They're going to show it and they're going to reveal it to you if it's really that amazing, okay? But if they're luring you into an isolated area, don't go. Tell them to meet you in an area where you got eyes on you, or you take a group of friends you trust, not a group of friends. Okay, there's a difference. A group of friends you trust. Okay, so not just a group of friends. You take a group of friends you trust that will take care of you. Okay, so if you end up in that situation, be sure that you're, not if you end up in that situation. Always keep your phone location active, yeah? And there is apps out there for parents where you can track and survey your child's whereabouts. You can also go the other route and buy a tracker. I don't want to give out too much information, but I want you to research on that. Okay? Because always got two type of people watching. All right? So be smart. There are trackers out there that you can use. Now, this one right here, this is the key to prevention. This is the key to prevention. Communication. Kids, adults, every person watching. When you go somewhere, let someone know. Let someone know that you trust. Okay? If you're gonna go out, and even if it's a norm, okay? If you go out, and for the kiddos, okay? Listen to Auntie. If you go out, let your parents know. Trust me, even if it's something that you know that they may not agree on, or you're gonna get in a lot of trouble, send them the text of the location when you're headed there. If you decide to defy your parents, shame on you. But in the case that you do, you make sure you give them the location where you're going, just in case something bad happens to you, they know where to look. A lot of you teens out there, and a lot of you young adults too, because your parents are still going to try, they're going to be concerned. My parents were concerned even still to this day. And I'm pretty sure my mama is still watching over me, but you let your parents know. Even when you're being a little shit and you're going somewhere that you know that they wouldn't approve you to go to. On your way, going to wherever you're going, you send them a text of wherever you're going. And you keep communication with them. Just in case anything happens, anything bad happens, they know where you were last. In situations where you're preyed upon, or in situations, criminal activities, time is of essence. Yeah. So if you're going to school and you are late, okay, because this has happened. Even I myself, when I was in high school, there was a situation that happened because I was late, and I went on my own time, and I never did it again. But in the case that you are late and your parents are adamant about your schedule, because mine's were, if you're late for school, text your parents and let them know, I am running late, I am sorry, I'm headed out the door right now. And then when you get to the school, you let them know, I'm here, I'm at the school. just in case from point A to point B something goes wrong. If something goes wrong from point A to point B, you know, they know exactly what they have, a time frame to work with. Yeah. So my own story, I was late for school. I decided to go on my own, and there was a guy, and you know, I'll tell you what, the thing about the DARE project, it is so amazing. It's good when you have the law enforcement come down, and the law enforcement just know understand that when you guys come down and you do these workshops with the kids, they actually listen. So I remember that year it was HPD gave a workshop about kidnapping, and he said, if a person comes to you and they pull aside on the side of the road and they tell you to come to them, then, you know, go the opposite direction of run across the street. And that's exactly what I did. There was this guy, he pulled up in a gray car, and I remember how he looks. He was buff, he wasn't ugly. This guy was not ugly. He was pretty buff. He was actually nice, okay looking. And then he was trying to lure me into his car. So I mean, I looked at him and I said, nope. No. Yep, young Pink Crush 808 was like, nope, and I dashed across the street. I looked, of course, both ways, and I dashed across the street, and I ran the rest of the way to school. I lost weight that morning, so and then I never ever went to school late again. But if you are late for school, tell your kids, if you're late for school, just let me know. You know, a lot of you parents want to pop off, you know, you guys have 301 complaints with your kid, but what worked for me raising my child is I always let my child know that even if you're doing something that I wouldn't approve of, you need to let me know what's going on. I know you're not going to break my trust and do something that I wouldn't approve of, because I know I love you very much, and you know how much I love you, and you don't want to hurt my feelings. I know you don't want to, and you know, my child is already confirming all those things, you know, I don't want to hurt you, blah 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 blah. But you gotta create the safety for them to be able to tell you what's going on. Yeah, because the last thing you want is them to be afraid to talk to you, especially when it comes to sexual predators. You want them to talk to you. You want them to tell you where they are, even when they know that you won't approve or that you'll be a bit upset. At least they know that I can still trust my parents, and I need, this is important for them. Let them know that you always love them. You have to keep letting them know that I love you. I love you very much. Your well-being and your welfare is important. And I tell you, if you pour love on your kids can pour that love back to you. It's important that you have, and you let them know that communication is key. You know, share with them the stories that you hear. Might be a little bit, you know, they might be a little bit taken back, but at least they know, man, my mom was telling me about this, and you know, this is what I got to do, because I don't want to end up like in that situation. So I got to make sure I stay I keep a good communication with my parent, even though I know they're going to get upset with me. They would probably be more upset with me that I didn't let them know they care about me. You know, even though they're going to be upset with me, they love me. So I have to let them know what's going on. You know, it's important. Tell them the importance of letting you know what's going on in their life. And that even though if they're doing something and you may not have approved of them doing it, letting you know is going to lessen you being upset with them. You know, if you explain to them how important they are, then they'll let you know, because they know that you love them and care about them. But if you pop off and you start talking shit to them, and you start telling them about the consequences, or calling them names and bad names and stuff like that, they're not going to want to tell you anything. And if anything does happen, you're not going to know what's going on. So, you know, communication is very important. You know, for adults, if you go out on a date, send your location, send the name of the date, send your mode of transportation nowadays. So if you're driving yourself, who you're gonna meet, where you're gonna meet, send all that. I like to send it to 3 different people. I'll just send it to 3 different people, and then I'll tell them I'll check in with you guys at 9 o'clock. 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock. I'll check on with you guys. I'll let you know when I get home. And you have to follow up because it's been a long time. I normally just stay home. I don't like going out. I know too much. But when I did, I would send it to 2 or 3 different people. And if I say I'm going to check back with them, you have to follow up, because if you don't, there was one time I made that mistake and oh my God, oh man, oh man, they're so worried. I felt so bad because I seen the thread of text and I went, oh crap, I'm never gonna do that again. But always let people know where you are. Let a friend know. Let your parents know. For kids, let your parents know. Let your best friends know. Let someone know. Even if you're late for school, call up the office and let them know. I'm leaving home now. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be late. You know, you can do these things. You know, you can do these things. Don't ever think that you're gonna be a burden, because that moment that you reach out, it might just save your life. You never know. Today's society is different than 10 years ago and 10 years before. So being cautious, taking these preventative measures to stay safe is important. It's not a waste of time. So I'm just gonna do, I think, PB and B, and that's probably where I end it. So 1, how to protect yourself, prevention. 2, knowledge. Knowing what the signs of a sexual predator are, people who will lure you into isolated areas, people who are sexually harass you first with their eyes and their gestures and their words before they even come on to you. Okay? But then you're not going to be stupid. You're going to be very smart. And you're going to look on your website and you're going to check all the danger zones around you. Where are the sexual predators? Who are the registered sexual offenders? And how they look like. You're going to be smart, right? You're going to look at all of those things. Look at the faces. So you know them before they know you. Know who your advocates are. A lot of you don't know who your advocates are. Did you know that you can actually report sexual assault to the FBI? Yeah, not just the police department. You can make a report at the police department at the city and county level or at the state sheriff's level, but you can also send it up to the FBI. If you ain't getting anywhere at that lower level, go higher. Always go higher. Don't be a drama queen and just skip and go high. Just go through the process. If nothing's happening, go higher. Just know that you always have a voice. You can always fight what is evil. It may take some time. It may take a lot of effort, but you have the resources. A lot of people that don't fight it, it's because they don't know what the resources are and they don't have that knowledge. But you will, because I'm going to give it to you. So, like I said before, knowing the danger zones, knowing your safe places, knowing the danger zones, know what to do if you or someone becomes a victim. Know what to do if you or someone becomes a victim. If you were sexually assaulted, male or female, men, you know what? If you get sexually assaulted, don't hide that shit. You know, I get plenty of guys out there that's been sexually assaulted. And you know, the biggest mistake that they made was not reporting it. Because they were ashamed. They're ashamed of themselves. Because they felt that they were weak men. You really think about it, if you get drugged or you get overpowered, are you really a weak man? No. You were at a place at the wrong time. That's it. But don't let the people who violated you get away. Don't let them get away. Don't. Because if you let them get away, then you're going to face them again. You know, you may have to face them again. So be strong. Nip it in the butt. Get it. Go get it. Go and turn it in. Get it. Report it. If anybody violates you as a man, let me tell you, you're not going to be the first person. You're not the first person to get plenty. But if you let it go away, if you let them get away, then, you know, they're still out there. So get it reported. The first thing is you get it reported. Don't fucking go take a shower. Don't take a shower. Girls, females, males, don't take a shower. The moment you are aware, the moment that you come to, the moment that you are, you know, immediately go to the emergency room. Immediately go to the emergency room. If you can't go to the emergency room, call the police. The police will come take your report, have you taken to the emergency room. Why? Because they need the DNA samples. If you know someone who has become a victim, this is a process. Don't don't let them take a shower. If that's you, don't take a shower. You go straight to the emergency room, or you make a 911 report. Everything that you have, just leave it like that. Leave it. If it's tears, I know it's a traumatic event. You may have the urge to change your clothes or take a shower. Most often, those who have been sexually assaulted, that's the first thing they want to do. Do not do that. Don't do that. Leave your clothes the way it is. Report to the emergency room, or have 911 take you down. Have the police take you down. Call 911 immediately and get a report done. And know that not everybody can be trusted. Not everybody can be trusted in this, especially in this time. The people you roll with, make sure you know them in and out. And sometimes even if you know them in and out, you don't know that little hidden part about them, you know. So prevention and knowledge are key. But one of the biggest, I think, is bravery. Bravery. It takes a lot of bravery to report it. Be brave. Be brave. Report it. Tell your parents if you're a teen. Tell the teachers, counselors, principals, for adults. Tell your coworkers. Tell your best friend. Tell someone. Report the crime. Report the crime. If you know someone who has been sexually assaulted, report it. You can report it anonymously too. Report the crime. If it's already done, you can still report it. Now, if you suspect someone to be a sexual predator, not if you're mad at someone and you just want to make them look bad. If you suspect someone and you have good reason because they did something very clearly that was predatorial towards you, then report. Well, you can say something about it. You know, talk to someone about it. Don't hold it in, because you know what? Just that alone, just your awareness might save someone else's life. It might save your life. You know, just your awareness alone, that feeling of, oh, you know what? I don't know, that person gives kind of predator vibes. You ever notice that? You're letting the community know. You're making it aware in the community that, hey, you know, there might be something going on right here. And I know that there are some jackasses out there that says things about people who aren't like that because they're fucking assholes, you know. But when you report these things, don't cry wolf. Don't fucking cry wolf. There's a lot of people that are crying wolf, and people who are being investigated are not people that should be investigated, but they're taking the time away from the people who should be investigated. because someone cried wolf, or somebody is making up stupid ass stories because they just hate that person and they're jealous. You don't understand. When you, if you're a person who does stupid things like that, you are the person, you are the, and you go around saying, oh, our tax monies are being wasted because of XYZ, but you go make up stories like that about someone, then you're the problem, because the taxpayers' monies are being used for that investigation that your lying mouth set off. You know what I'm saying? So when you make these kind of accusations, be sure that you're not being a jackass to somebody, but actually there's a real reason, you know. And don't try to convince yourself, oh yeah, I think so. No, stop being petty out there. Some people of you, I can be very petty, but some of you guys are being pettier. No, I wouldn't even call it petty. I would call it really ignorant, you know, like stupid. You're just dumb. So be brave if you are a victim. Be brave if you see suspicious activity. Be brave if you know someone who is a victim. Speak up on their behalf. Speak up if you're a victim. Speak up and let the community know if you see some kind of weird activity going on. That's community. That's how community protects community members. It's those things, doing those little things, saying, hey, you know what, bruh, I seen something suspicious. You gotta watch out. You got kids, right? Make sure you watch your kids. Don't let them go running around over there, because over there, I think that old man over there or that old lady over there, they might be kind of predatory. I don't know. Or even if you look them up and you found somebody's face as a registered sexual offender, let your community know, you know, that not safe over there. It's not safe. They ask you why, you know, some people, they got an issue because they're like, oh, but you're going to put them in danger. Oh, but they prove that they are dangerous. You know, I don't know what this whole, you know, bullshit mentality about protecting evil. Like I said, you invite evil into your home, evil never going to leave. So, I mean, if somebody is a registered sex offender and you're all sensitive because you're like, oh, they're going to be they're going to be harassed or something like that. It's like, or they're not thinking about that shit before they did it, or you like somebody else being victim. you know. I know a lot of people, you guys have really soft hearts, but then you also have to apply that kind heart to intelligence. You know, you have to mix them together and apply that, because it's not always about your feelings. It's about doing what's right, you know. And protecting your community is doing what's right. So before I end this, I am going to share what the types of sexual crimes are. And if anybody does any of these things to you or your family members, or you know of someone who has had this done to them, then report it. So the first is sexual harassment, which is unwanted and usually repeated sexually explicit statements, gestures, or physical contact. Honestly, it's not physical contact. It's more so statements and gestures. Those would be sexual harassments. Pressuring you into engaging in sexual activity, mainly gesturing or asking for sexual favors, making sexual suggestions to you, or making sexual sounds towards you or remarks, sending text, that's sexual harassment, with sexual content in it, sexual comments on the text, and post or social media comments that are sexually triggered. Those are all forms of sexual harassment. Now there's the second type of sexual crime, which is exposure. And exposure is someone showing their private parts to another person, or being tricked to show their private parts, forced or bribed into showing their own private parts to another person, flashing, peeping activities, and making someone view sexual activity, or exposing them to sexually explicit materials or videos, websites or magazines, and also they're all considered exposure. So if you don't want to see it and somebody's making you or forcing you to look at it, that is exposure. That's a sexual crime. That can be reported. You can make a police report, and then, you know, if the police ask you, would you like to press charges, then they're going to be sent to jail. They're going to get arrested. Now, the last one is fondling and penetration. Fondling and penetration. So fondling is touching someone's private area or being made to touch theirs or another person's private areas without consent or with consent. Without consent, or it doesn't have to necessarily be without clothing. It can be with clothing. Okay, that is a sexual crime that should be reported. Okay, even if it seems like a joke, it's not a joke. That's your own personal body. That's your body, not theirs. Nobody should be exposing their body to you, and you should not, and nobody should force you to do that for them. And then, of course, the last one is penetration. And it doesn't have to necessarily be with a body part. It could be with anything. So those are the crimes that you would report. Don't be afraid to report them. Be brave. So the sun's going down. I have to go and turn the lights on. I wish I had that, you know, clap on, clap off stuff, but I don't. However, I hope you guys learned something today, and I hope you guys stay protected, and I hope you guys, you guys be safe out there. There's a lot of crazy things going on. 1, remember prevention. 2, know that knowledge is key. And 3, be brave. Be brave. Don't be silent. Be brave. Make a report. Do the brave thing. Because you're going to either save your life, your sanity, or someone else's too. Okay? So with that, love, peace, and aloha. Stay safe. Love you guys.